Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our first ever Purpose Summit. Now, other people may have done this, but this is the first time that I'm doing it with the lovely group of experts that have dedicated their time to join me today and do the Purpose Summit for your benefit as you lead in your business and organisation. And I'm delighted to join you live as we look at purpose, what it is, why it matters, and the compelling reasons why you, as a leader or within your organisation, ought to be paying attention to what purpose means, what leading from purpose means, and what being purpose-driven might mean for you. And it's as if it was serendipitous, I have to say, but on the 3rd of June, McKinsey released a podcast on their latest findings on purpose. Now, we knew an awful lot about purpose and why there's a compelling business case as to why organisations ought to pay attention to it already. You know, and research has proven that the benefits of things like giving us a better immune system, would you believe, massively increasing our resilience as leaders, giving us greater motivation in what we do because we identify with it better, and being able to deal with challenge and stress. But McKinsey have taken that a step further and shared some really amazing statistics that I honestly think can't be ignored in our sort of journey and understanding with purpose and what it might mean for you if you were to take that on in your business and organisation. Now, the difference that being purpose-driven can make for you and your organisation, and forgive me because I'm just going to read some stats here, for the employees' perspective are that employees are 6.5 times more likely to report higher resilience if they are purpose-driven. In other words, they've been able to identify their own individual purpose and connect that to the purpose of the organisation. They're 4 times more likely to report better health, so less sick days for the organisation, which costs money. They're 2.6 times more likely to want to stay at the organisation. And then they're 1.5 times more likely to go above and beyond in the work that they do. And I just think these statistics are incredible. And there's a lot more to it. And I wish we had all day. I could talk about this all day, but I'd like to bring in some of the experts to help us talk about that. And today we're joined by Matteo Gori, who works in Barilla and Foods, and we'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. We're joined by Michelle Kingsland, who works for Tropic Skincare UK, and we're also joined by Amy Avergun, who's an instructional design specialist and all-round purpose expert. So delighted to have them all join us today. And I'm going to bring them in one at a time with Matteo first. So here we go. Hi, Matteo. How are you?
Hey, Paula. I'm very well. And you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you. Now, Matteo is joining us all the way from Italy. And I first met Matteo a few years ago when we were both participants in a program, a purpose program, no less. And we've been purpose pals ever since, to coin a cheesy phrase. But we get together regularly and have really engaging discussions on it. And I thought, who better to come and join me today to help me share the word about purpose. Now, Matteo grew up in Tuscany with his parents, who ran a butcher's shop. Maybe there's a connection with food. And that was where he had his first sort of front office interactions with customer-facing roles. He studied economics at Bocconi University and then international public policy at UCL here in the UK, which is where I'm sitting today. And after that, he started in strategy consulting, working with Monitor Deloitte, switching to the corporate world 12 years ago when he joined Barilla. He's still with Barilla, the world's largest pasta maker today, and spent all his time within marketing and innovation, and is now their global marketing director for the Barilla Group. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, fantastic to have you with us. So let's get started. Please, first of all, share your purpose with us.
Okay. So my purpose is the following. I am the curious professor, deeply connecting people and ideas to create the magic. This is my purpose statement, the one that I got to when I met Paula in the same program.
Okay, and why did those particular words come out for you, and what's the meaning behind it in terms of how you arrived at that, and what's it really mean to you?
Well, I mean, I learned in that program that coming to your purpose statement is a lot about digging into yourself and removing some of the layers that, let's say, came on top of you or through you with life and etc. So curiosity, which is the first word that I use in my statement, has always been with me. I mean, I was very lucky as a child to have teachers and parents and professors to really instill that in me. And then I had forgotten, let's say, that a little bit. So curiosity was of paramount importance in my DNA, let's say. Then there is a word which is professor that has to do with the fact that I realized that I like, let's say, the stage. So there is a stage element of being in front of the camera that I like, but a stage where I interact with others and I help others growing, let's say. So more of a professor, not necessarily an actor impersonating something that I'm not. Then there is a piece which says deeply connecting people and ideas. And I realized through the program that was actually one of the key characteristics of my professional experience. I'm known, for instance, at the company as being very good at building bridges between very different worlds, seniority-wise, job family-wise, geographically-wise. Apparently, I mean, that's what I've been told. So I'm not congratulating myself, but there aren't that many able to have fruitful conversations with all these different, let's say, worlds and helping worlds connect with each other. So that's why there is that central piece. And then the final piece is to create the magic, which is basically the place where the people around me evolve and live basically to the fullest. Not only and not necessarily the people that I manage in my direct team, but all the people around me, colleagues also from far away, etc., etc. So that's how I got to this phrase, to this statement.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that story with us, Matteo. And I think knowing you as I do and getting to know you more over the years, you do have a unique ability for connecting ideas and, connecting with people on a deeper level, not just a hi, how are you, but really wanting to know what's behind that. Okay, you said fine, thanks, but what's really behind that, and getting curious about it. And as a coach myself, that really is something that's close to my heart. So lovely to see it in others too. So why is purpose then important to you, and what has connecting with your purpose done for you in your overall leadership?
Well, I mean, to explain how important it is, maybe I can do a little step back to where I got to the program and why I got to let's say, to looking for my purpose at that particular phase of my professional development. So I've been promoted to director level, as we call it here, prior to that program, and I was finding myself a little bit puzzled because in this new role, which is the same I have today, I had so many different stakeholders within the organization pulling me into all different directions. So shareholders wanted something from me, and let's say out of my role, the CEO wanted something, sales wanted something, supply chain wanted something, and these were all different pieces or different directions. So I started to ask myself, how could I avoid two risks? One was to follow everybody and to, be pulled into so many different directions that I would lose myself and I would not convey what I was standing for. And on the other hand, the opposite risk, which was to appear as stubborn and not listening to anyone because I knew the right way and everybody else was just adding confusion. So I turned to my HR partner and I said, how can I deal with that? And they came up with the idea of actually working on my purpose. So, and there was a very good intuition. So I have to thank them for that. Now that I know what I stand for and what drives me and what excites me and what makes me unique, I can live with the aspects of my role, but still not being lost into all the different directions and influencing and stakeholders, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the first thing that has happened in my experience. Then you were mentioning greater motivation, higher resilience. I mean, it couldn't be true, to be honest with you. I mean, once you know what you are, what you stand for, who you are, what really drives you, of course, the organization is always going to give you ups and downs. It's a relationship. So as in any relationship, there are going to be positive moments and negative moments, but you will have this center of gravity, which keeps you stable with these ups and downs happening around you. So that's also another aspect of my experience. And then realizing what I am, who I am, has made me easier to understand what the company that I work for stand for, and therefore building a better, deeper relationship with the overall organization as well.
And I think you raise an interesting point there about the resilience connection, Matteo, because, you know, Amy, one of our fabulous guests that's coming on in a little bit of time, she and I always talk about, and you know, purpose being that anchor that grounds you and your kind of personal source of inspiration and renewable energy. And when we're in times of challenge, for example, the pandemic at the moment, as we're all experiencing around the world, that having that anchor and that purpose and that personal source of inspiration is really helpful to keep you focused and grounded as everything else is happening around you. And I love the way you talked about having your purpose has helped you sort of almost, these weren't your words, but cut out that noise around you and focus on the things that matter, and almost sort of focus into your zone of genius, as it were.
No, absolutely. And I was thinking back to the fact that you and I met in December 2019 in that program, and we were speaking about this VUCA world, and then look what happened 3 months later. So, I mean, again, this couldn't be true. And if I have to give a little piece of advice, given the pandemic and given the extreme uncertainty and volatility of everything around us, I cannot think of a more important time to dig into our own purpose and understand ourselves a little bit better. And again, I go back to the relationship with the organization. My relationship with the organization now that I know myself much more is much healthier. As in any relationship, as I was saying, there are goods and bads, ups and downs, but I know who I am and what I stand for. And I also know probably what adds value in my experience and my contribution to the overall organization. So that makes, let's say, the relationship much easier and much healthier in a way. And then I've also seen after understanding and coming up to my purpose statement, the impact that I can have on others. So for instance, I've been for the last 1.5 years. So after the purpose statement, I've been also a mentor for some colleagues at Barilla. So I was a mentee and I've been a mentee for some time. So having a mentor, let's say, guiding me, but now I'm a mentor myself. And without necessarily going to the full extent of that, but I can invite people to raise the right questions to themselves and raising the right questions for the relationship they have, each of them have with the organization. And I don't know, I have a feeling, I'm a little bit of a positive thinker, but I have a feeling that this is helping eventually. Maybe people are not coming to the full answer, but at least they are wandering around the right questions and the right drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, Matteo. And I think it's a prudent thing to say here as well. Sometimes when people really discover their purpose, you know, reveal and ignite it, you know, there's no going back because now you're connected with it. And sometimes that means that what you're doing isn't right for you. And you need to you know, accept that means you are moving on because there's no longer that connection that you thought you had with what you're doing. Now, obviously not saying that's the experiences you've had with the people that you're mentoring, but it's just something that we should consider when we're discussing purpose. But obviously on the positive side, you're hoping that that makes them connect at a deeper level with the organisation they're already in. And in my experience, that's more often the case.
Yeah, and I have to say, I also find that kind of question, that kind of line of thought increases of course, the self-awareness and also the demands that you should have on yourself. I mean, sorry if I go from a slightly different angle, but you cannot blame the organization if you don't know who you are and what you stand for. I mean, that's your job. Then once you know that, of course, the organization will be easier to read and navigate for you. But honestly with you, before I did the program, sometimes I was doing a little bit that. I wasn't necessarily clear on what I was standing for. And then the organization was to blame. I mean, it's always easier to blame the context around us. But I mean, let's start with what we can actually change. And finding our own purpose is a first piece that any manager, any professional should at one point or another do, because again, otherwise blaming the context, the organization, the boss, the job family, etc., is too easy and it's not going to help you. It's not going to make you move into of any step.
That's so insightful, Matteo. And I think, there are so many things that are beyond our control, but let's deal with what we can control. And really, truly understanding our purpose is one of those things that will help us decide what's right and not right for us. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we're having a great chat about what it's like now. We've got our purpose, but can you remember when you didn't have purpose? And can you tell me a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I was saying, I didn't know exactly what made me unique and what also drove me, what excited me, etc. So I was a little bit going into random directions. So there were some aspects of my purpose that were there, but since I had not fully discovered them or expressed them, I didn't know they were like that. And sometimes I was going maybe too far in starting from a positive direction, too far becoming not necessarily a positive value or a positive added to conversations, etc. I was also a little bit wondering, I mean, do I want some aspects of what comes with professional growth, money, title, bigger teams, etc., or do I want some others? I had an idea, but I never actually, I know this sounds crazy, I never actually sit down and ask myself what was actually driving me. And therefore I would go, a little bit right and left and right. So I wouldn't care about some aspects, but then 1 year later or 6 months later, oh my gosh, I didn't get that. I'm so sorry about that. So now that I know what drives me, again, it's so much easier. And of course, I mean, I would love some aspects, but I place them in a box where they belong. They don't invade, let's say, the focal space, the mental space that it belongs to me. And the other thing is, I was managing junior people, let's say, even before I did my statement. And before realizing my purpose statement, I was trying to transfer them functional skills, if you see what I mean. So I learned stuff on the job and I was giving them that, which is part of being a manager of somebody. So nothing wrong with that. Now that I know my purpose and there is that very important word, which is curiosity, now I try to do both. So I try to transfer what I know from a functional standpoint, how to come up with a new product, a new campaign, etc., etc. But on top of that, I try to instill the curiosity. They'll ask yourself, ask the right questions, build connections with the others, go and talk to people, stop sending emails, just try chatting and having as face-to-face due to the pandemic time that you can have with others. So I've been heading I've been heading a soft skills side or a leadership side to the functional side that was there anyway, but now it feels much more me. I mean, any boss can give you functional skills. Maybe not everybody can give you the curiosity, the building connections, relationships, etc., etc.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I was just going to say, what you're actually building is those soft skills and helping others to see that side of it. Because without those, in a way, you're just kind of being, to use your words, a functional manager, and bringing in that soft side of it, helps you perform well as a leader. And having thought that we weren't going to get any comments through on StreamYard that we're using today, we've had Nicola, who's watching live. We often lose ourselves in the corporate environment. We have to work hard to remind ourselves who we are and what we stand for. And I think that's so pertinent to what we're talking about today. So thank you so very much, Matteo. Before you go, do you want to just give us your purpose one more time to remind us?
My pleasure. So I am the curious professor, deeply connecting people and ideas to create the magic.
Fantastic. Right. Well, you have definitely helped us create some magic here today. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
With that, I'm going to let you go and I'm going to pull in Michelle. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I'm really enjoying this, talking about purpose.
I can see that. Yes, and I can see everyone else's as well. And I'm getting a lot from this.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Well, we're all learning every day. And I often hear myself saying the day I stop learning, then I should probably stop what I'm doing. So it's one of my favorite things to do. Now, let me just give you a proper introduction. I have known Michelle probably for about 6 years coming up. Can't believe it's gone so fast. And I can't really remember life before we knew each other, which is, I think, a good thing, and probably means you might be a permanent part of life as it is now. And I'm very happy about that. Now, Michelle is an independent Tropic team ambassador, and that's with Tropic Skincare UK. And she began her adventure with them in January last year, just before the pandemic hit. It's grown into a full-time role. In other words, she's absolutely nailing it and making it a real successful business for herself. And she does this whilst managing her rather large family, and absolutely loves what she does. And when you hear her talk about it in a minute, that will definitely come across. And I never cease to be amazed by Michelle's courage and the tenacity that she has as a business owner, as she pushes herself well outside her comfort zone to make sure she learns as well on a daily basis, and really pushes herself to give her best to Tropic. So welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
So, you're with us today to talk about purpose from an organisational perspective, albeit that it does cross over with your personal purpose, I know. But do tell us, what's Tropic's purpose, and importantly, what's it like to be part of an organisation that has or is truly purpose-driven?
Yes, so this is completely different to what Matteo was just saying then, actually. And I have never, ever worked with a business like this, I have to say. Different companies, lots of different roles. So to be part of this is just amazing. I'm so very passionate. I'm very out of my comfort zone, I have to say, listening to you guys today. So if I do waffle on, I am just passionate about the role.
Not at all.
So I am with a company who actually brought a incredibly strong purpose into my life through that company. And I'm so grateful for that. So right from the top, right from our founder and our CEO, Susie Ma herself, Tropic's infinite purpose is to create a healthier, greener, more empowered world. So we're dealing with beautiful skincare, all natural or cruelty-free. It's just beautiful. That's not what we're here for, though. I'm not going to start selling Tropic. However, our infinite purpose will be delivered in every area of our business, and it's the core of everything. Everybody is so passionate about it, and it comes right from the top, and it's a real belief. So we will always come back to this. It's the building blocks and a clear platform for this amazing business. It is so incredibly powerful, and it really, really it's the foundations of my business, my own personal business. So it influences every decision made as a brand, from the products we launch to the ingredients that we use to the certifications that we have and the partnerships that we have with different charities. This is what I was listening to. I was listening before. This is like the anchor, isn't it? It's what I'm learning. It provides real clarity for us and for my customers, because I'm so bought into the idea of this purpose that then cascades through to my customers, and they're so passionate about it as well. So working with a business like this and to have this purpose gives a real sense of passion to me. And I stumbled across this career back in January 2020. Didn't expect to do this, always use the skincare, and just I'll just say I stumbled across this career path. I'd wanted to do it for a long time, and I've lost my train of thought now. So working with a business like this, it gives a real sense of passion. And why would customers choose to purchase products from me or this beautiful business if we didn't have that passion and that love for it? I think, and I'm learning, and I've learned a lot from you, that, you know, this past year, we all need a purpose in our life, in our careers, personal life, whatever. And I think it's paramount in driving results and getting those goals to aspire to.
Yeah, and you make a really good point there, Michelle. I think, you know, that sort of golden thread, as Amy calls it, who's coming up next, that runs through everything we do as our purpose, really helps unite everybody behind the same goal. And what you've just described as going on in Tropic is absolutely showing that is happening, because, you know, I don't know how many levels there are in Tropic up to Susie Ma, but if that's coming down to you, yeah. I mean, that says something about how powerful that is for the business. Surely.
I've never ever worked with a company like this, and I don't know how I would have coped without it in my life, to be fair. And as I stumbled upon this, I didn't realise how close every single bit of that infinite purpose to create a healthier, greener, more empowered world. Every single fragment of that works for me and has become my purpose now. And it's so inbred and makes me so passionate about the company. It's lovely.
Oh, it's so wonderful to hear you talk about it like this. And dare I say, because you kind of touched on it a little bit already, but think back to previous companies that you've worked in versus Tropic now. Can you try and articulate that difference for us?
Yeah, so there's a few things that working with purpose has really done for me. So it has hugely empowered me as an individual. So the empowered bit being the end bit of our infinite purpose anyway. So part of our infinite purpose itself is, so I've been empowered to run my own business and take full accountability for my own business. And it has taken me through the most amazing journey. I have developed personally and through my business. I didn't realise actually till we spoke the other day how much I have achieved this year. So I've been faced with so many ups and downs, and I've had to become very resilient. And that's something we quite often talk about, isn't it? To all of those, as no business is plain sailing. You can't expect to get out of bed and everything go, you know, down the channels that you want it to follow, because that's not business and that's not real life. So the second thing is, I love that in order to retain that brand integrity and consistency, Susie influences, and that's us as her ambassadors with the infinite purpose consistently. It's in everything that we do. It drives structure, because we've always got something to fall back on, and gives real clarity when we believe in it. If you can't understand what I mean, who wouldn't buy into such a powerful purpose? You know, to create a healthier, greener, more empowered world. What else could you want? So a successful ambassador, and I feel that this is probably why I have achieved what I've achieved this year, is someone who has 100% bought into that purpose. That is everything. That's our guidelines. So other companies which I previously worked for didn't have purpose. And if they did, it was a very well kept secret, because I certainly didn't want to get out of bed. I had no drive to go to it was a salary, and that's all it was. This isn't a salary. This is a way of life for me. Do you know, sometimes sales are coming, sometimes they're not. But have you ever heard me say, I don't want to go to work today?
I can honestly say I haven't. And
I might talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is lovely to hear you talk about it with such passion, and the energy and the inspiration and the confidence that it's given you is incredible. You know, compared to other people who I see in, you know, in other roles, other leadership roles, where they are feeling browbeaten, stressed, challenged at every turn. You know, you've described the opposite to that. You feel empowered to get on and run your business. It's just incredibly exciting. And I think a real, you know, going back to the McKinsey research that I was talking about at the beginning, you know, if people are watching from, you know, the HR standpoint in your organization, why wouldn't you want to bring purpose in for you and your employees, and see the sort of the passion, the empowerment, and the results, the compelling results for the business case to do it? You know, if there's one thing that you could do for your business, it's or your organization and your employees, it's to allow them to work on finding their purpose and working on your overall organization's purpose and connecting the two, because then you're all working towards the same goal. And really, you know, how powerful is that? Well, you've just shared.
Feel like when you're given a powerful purpose like that through an organization, though, it kind of, I'm still working. This is very new to me. I've never had, I'm so alien to purpose. You know that. We speak about it a lot, and you very tentatively. But to have this powerful purpose is allowing me to understand my why I'm doing this, what my purpose is. And it's just grown me as a person to understand myself and what I want for my life and for my family.
It's such a major driver when you really get underneath it and discover what it can do for you. So probably a silly question now, but I'm curious to know, do you think you found the right organization for you, Michelle?
Probably was a silly question. I feel like anybody listening right now will be able to judge and make their own decision based on my overwhelming passion and drive to deliver my own results. So I've got full accountability for my own business now, which I absolutely thrive on. In fact, you know, I'm not talking about stress, but a little bit of stress actually drives me, and you do gain that when you develop your own business. I always want to do better. You're faced with challenges, but you just need to be so resilient and source a solution. I know it sounds easier said than done, but with that purpose in mind, and with that concrete purpose always there in mind, if you do, you can revert back to it. It's taking a step back and reevaluating the situation and thinking, why am I doing this? Or, you know, what's Tropic's purpose and how can I fit that around the situation that I'm in? So there's never a day where I don't want to get out of bed. I didn't used to want to. I love to challenge myself. I love to get up in the morning and think, you know, where am I going to get my customers? What new people can I meet? I used to dread going to work. I really, really did. This gives me goosebumps. All the new challenges. I wish I had been braver sooner. My mum always used to tell me to do this. It was always something in the back of my mind. And I wish I'd just been braver sooner. So, Paula, I think that you have played a huge part in this, in developing my self-confidence. And that's coming from you professionally and as a friend as well. And you've really grown my resilience. So as a mum of 4 beautiful children, and they are, as hard work as they are, I'm now in control of my own personal life and how I spend that time with my children and doing what I need to do. And, you know, going through the pandemic, homeschooling, I've been at home, I've adapted my business. I'm also no longer financially dependent on my gorgeous husband, but I'm such an independent person so for me to be a stay-at-home mum and have to rely on that one income, it's amazing, and it is so unbelievably empowering. I go back to that, but right from the top, the empowering bit just comes through every level, you know, from supporting other ambassadors to empowering our customers to empowering different charities. It's just the most fantastic company. I love it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Wonderful kind words. But, you know, and it's been an absolute honour to help support you. But just remember, you're exactly where you're meant to be now. And you're the one that's doing this and making it happen for you. And to be connected to the infinite purpose of Tropic has truly given you the spark and energy that you
didn't have before
prior to finding it. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us and sharing all about that today. I'm going to switch now over to Amy. So see you later.
See you later.
Ooh. Hello, Amy.
Hello, Paula.
Thank you so much for getting up ridiculously early in the US to be with us this morning. We're really honoured to have you as our really super guru on purpose, because you've been working with purpose for a lot longer than I have. So I think Amy and I have known each other now for just about a year. We came together working frantically on a project where we were co-designing a program all around purpose to deliver into an organization. And it was a really exciting, highly frantic time where we were kind of thrown together to help create this program and understand how it would be delivered. Now, Amy designs and delivers all kinds of leadership workshops, including her all-time favourite, which of course is how to help people clarify and find words to express their purpose. And I've personally observed in working with Amy, of course, that whatever program she develops, it helps her express her own purpose. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm actually going to say, Amy, please do share your purpose with us.
All right. So my purpose is to help people find lots of ways to use their energizing strengths. And the emphasis here is on energizing, because I have found that in the course of helping people to identify their purpose, we always focus also on their strengths, but not all strengths are created equal. There are things that I'm sure everyone listening can think of. There are things that we're good at that we don't love doing. And then there are things that we're good at that just totally energize us. And so I like to help people identify what those are, because your energizing strengths, like your purpose, are things that kind of unleash that source of energy. I think everyone who's listening saw, I don't know what I can even add. I mean, you heard Matteo, you heard Michelle. I mean, the proof is in what you saw there. One thing that I've noticed when I'm working with people to help them clarify their purpose is when they get it, there's this sense of satisfaction and usually a smile. And, Michelle couldn't stop smiling the whole time. So there are certain cues that, nonverbal cues that we get when somebody sort of lands on their purpose and they know, okay, that's my essence. That's what drives me.
You're absolutely right, Amy. And I've sort of used the term secret sauce a couple of times recently, because it's almost like it's in our DNA. I would go as far as saying it, saying that it's truly part of who you are. And when you connect to it, it's like undoing the tap that's never going to be turned off again. And it just is so much fun and such a great source of, to use your words, inspiration and energy when you find it and are able to apply it to everything you do.
You know, as I was listening, an image came to me of that purpose is kind of like the pilot light that's inside each of us.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was thinking about the water heater or your, you know, your stove. That light is always on. And, you know, purpose to a great extent is something that we can't stop ourselves from doing. But sometimes the flame, you know, like with Matteo, until he really identified and clarified what it was sort of there, but it wasn't giving him what he needed, you know, to kind of stand. And once you turn on that pilot light, then you get the full effect of, you know, of the flame and the inspiration. And I hadn't thought of that image before, but it is, I think it's just always there. Sometimes I talk about it that your purpose is hiding in plain sight, and with the right questions and the time to answer them, you really shed light on what it is.
You're absolutely right. And I love the way you describe it as our sort of internal pilot light, because I always think of resilience overall and purpose being part of mind, body and soul, the soul element within resilience, because it's what you truly feel. It's truly inside you and part of your soul. And that pilot light, you know, hopefully stays alight for very, very many years to come for all of us. And it's that's, you know, kind of driving us from inside. So it's a really lovely way to look at it. So how did your connection with purpose start, Amy?
You know, for many years, what I did was I designed skills training, leadership skills training. So the organization that I work for, which I have to admit was an absolutely wonderful place to work, kind of the nirvana of workplaces. And what we did was we designed leadership training. So how to give feedback, how to, you know, give positive rewards, you know, anything you could think of. And we could do it all in 5 key actions, you know, do this, do that, do this. And it was rewarding and it was fun to do that. And people liked the training. They did like the training, and they made every effort to adapt and adopt, you know, these key actions that we were helping people with. But what was interesting, what for me, kind of a game changer, was I became involved in helping to design and deliver purpose training, helping people figure out their strengths and their purpose. And when I went through it myself and then helped other people, I saw what a difference it made to participate in an experience where the outcome was something that made you a leader from the inside out, as opposed to, you know, I don't want to say the skills training I was involved in was charm school, but it was more, if you do these things, if you know, walk like a leader and look like a leader, you'll be a leader. But this was, if you feel like a leader, then there's a much greater chance that you will be a leader. And I saw that the big difference between sort of skills training for leaders, and I'm not saying that that doesn't complement the purpose stuff,
absolutely,
but the purpose work is apples and oranges, that the skills stuff is apples, but the, you know, knowing your purpose is really a very juicy orange. And there's just much more to it in terms of helping people. You heard Matteo talk about it. I mean, he just has a whole different perspective on what it means to be a leader at Barilla than what he had when he first went into that position. I mean, you know, it's a perfect example of that sort of perspective.
Yeah, I love that. And I was just seeing a comment here from Andrew Thorpe, who's watching live, Amy, and he says, and when the hairdresser engages in small talk and asks me, "Are we off today, sir?" the answer is no, because the flame doesn't go out.
Oh, cool.
Andrew has a very good way with words, but
Yes,
I think
yes,
that's
a good one. That's a good
really
one.
great. And he's also
Yes.
saying skills on the surface, purpose is deep down.
But that, you know, actually, it's very true, because someone once said to me, I remember there was a Saturday afternoon years ago, and I was talking to, you know, I was with some friends, and I had just met a woman who was a realtor. And I was asking her something about her business, and somebody said to me, "Can you ever turn it off?" And I see now, as Andrew says, no, I can't. You know, I'm fascinated. Like, what is it about being a realtor that excites you? You know, my daughter gets mad at me when she says, "Do you always have to ask everybody what they do and how they got into it and what they like about it?" And I guess the answer is yes, I do.
Absolutely. And I have to say, since finding mine nearly 3 years ago, I haven't been able to turn it off.
Yes.
It's really why I'm here today. It gave me that courage. And if I share my purpose with you now, it's the courageous natural artist, nurturing trust with calm tenacity. And those 3 bits that pop out, the courage, the trust, and the tenacity, are what gave me that belief in me, the courage to go for it, trusting myself, trusting others that they would support what I'm doing, and trusting clients who also trust me in return, and that tenacity to keep going, even though we've been in the midst of a global pandemic and it's been tough to get going. Purpose has honestly kept me going. And again, like the pilot light, you can't turn it off.
That's right. And you know what's interesting too is I think, you know, you have a nice statement and Matteo has, you know, a nice statement. One thing I would like to say that I'm finding in working with people to help them clarify their purpose is that you don't need to have the full flowery statement. That what you really want to look for are, you know, what's the key words? Like, you know, Matteo was sort of the curious bridge building professor. And, you know, what we call trigger words that are going to remind you, you know, so for you, maybe tenacity or courage or, you know, coach, whatever it is. The other day I was listening to some people who have started their own business over the age of 50. And this one woman said, you got to figure out your why, which is really what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What's your why? And she said, it becomes your North Star. So for her, she's an innovator and everything she does, the word innovation. Somebody else I work with, you know, her word is fabulous and she wants to be fabulous. She wants to make everyone else fabulous. She's had the flowery statement, but she doesn't need the whole thing. So, you know, for me, it used to be strengths, and that now I've moved over to energizing strengths. So I would say to our listeners, you know, is there one word or 2 words that kind of capture who you are and help you shift into that gear? You know, maybe the pilot light is sort of barely on, and if you turned it up by just, you know, frankly triggering it, it would make a difference. So that's kind of where I am. I think the flowery statement is wonderful, but I am encouraging people, find a couple of words that trigger you, that act as your North Star, and have those words, you know, on your laptop or on your dashboard or you know, whatever, on your refrigerator or your kitchen table when you're sitting with your family trying to decide.
Absolutely. And nearly 3 years on, I definitely am with you on that, Amy, in that courage, trust, and tenacity, for example, for me, are the trigger words that come out of my purpose statement, if you like. And they're the three things that whenever I talk about my purpose, they're the three things. I very rarely use the full kind of work, statement. And something that you and I, worked on together last year when we were looking at that program was, the accelerated purpose experience was all about just finding those key words and phrases that are important to you, that help you connect to your why. So I think that's really, really important to say. And David Bellin's also watching live. He said, where do you start finding your trigger words? Well, we can help you with that, David, but perhaps not in today's session, because it's a slightly longer conversation. But, everybody, of course, has different triggers. Now, can you remember what it was like before you had your purpose, Amy?
I think I always had my purpose because it's something you can't stop yourself from doing. But I will tell you about a moment in time that was a big difference maker for me. One of the first books that, I don't know if people are familiar with positive psychology. And positive psychology is sort of in the psychology arena. It's relatively new because for decades, the focus was on mental illness, things that weren't working. And then the tide sort of turned, I don't know, I want to say 1992 or something like that. And Martin Seligman said, you know what, why do we keep looking at what doesn't work? Let's look at what does work. And that kind of, opened things up for me because I started my career as a career coach. So as a career coach, I was always focused on people's strengths. Mostly what did you like, and then some stuff about what you don't like. But that's what a career coach does. That's what we're trying to help people figure out. So that was always in the background. But here I am, designing training that helps mostly with difficult situations. And so, the two worlds met, but not the way probably I would have liked them to. So then comes this positive psychology on the scene, and I felt like it gave me permission to really go head, straight forward on helping people identify their strengths. And so I was lucky enough to get a project, I'm just going to say, with Safeway, and this was in California. And we did the first session. And what we did was we went around the room at the beginning of the session, and everyone, there were probably 25 people in the pilot, and we asked everyone to introduce themselves. So, this young guy, kind of the youngest guy in the room, introduces himself. He says, I'm Matt, and, I'm a new manager at such and such a store, and I'm, really excited to be here. And then we get to this other guy, and I think his name was Harvey, and he goes, I'm Harvey. I've been at Safeway for 25 years. I've been in every kind of training you can imagine. I've been there. I've done that. I'm happy to be here. But you could tell he wasn't happy to be there. So then at the end of this 4-hour sessions where we had just talked about nothing but people's strengths and how they could use them, and they helped each other figure them out, we go around at the end to get final thoughts. And this guy, Harvey, introduced himself, and he said, hi, I'm Matt. I'm really happy to be here. This curmudgeon, I mean, that's really what he was, had just been bathed in talking about his strengths for hours. And he felt so different than what he felt when he came in the room. And I just thought, shame on all of us that we aren't starting training by helping people to identify their strengths. I always start any kind of workshop I do with something positive because it makes us more open-minded, resilient, and creative. And, I know that there's problems, but if you want to start by opening the mind, and then that gives you more ability to deal with what doesn't work. So to make a long story short, I think that workshop put my sort of love affair with helping people identify their strengths into high relief. and just made it front and center from that point on as much as possible. So anyway, long answer to a brief question.
Super. Well, it's been absolutely fascinating to hear you talk, Amy, there. And I'm just going to bring the other two in, just to say to all of you what a huge honor it's been to have you join today for the session. Amy and I are just going to stay on here for a couple of minutes while we finish the live stream, and then we're hot-footing it over to Zoom. So if you have registered and signed up and you have the link, please do join the live Q&A. It'll be myself, Amy, and Michelle. Unfortunately, Matteo has a very, very important business meeting to go and attend to. So thank you all so very much. And I will release Matteo for now, and we'll see you again soon, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Michelle, we'll see you over on the live Q&A shortly.
All right, we'll see you shortly. See you later. Okay.
So Amy, I just wanted to keep you on while I talk about the accelerated purpose experience, because obviously if people would like to know more about purpose and help to reveal and ignite their own personal source of inspiration and energy, and you know, they've now heard the stats, the compelling reasons why it's such a good idea to to find your own purpose, then you know, we would love to hear from them. Please do get in touch. And I've got another lady who's Claire. She said she's thoroughly enjoyed the session, but unfortunately can't join the Zoom. Well, Claire, if you have signed up, you will get the replay of the Zoom session as well, so you can listen back to it later. And that goes for anyone else who can't join us live on Zoom, to ask any questions that you might have of myself and Amy shortly. But if you want to know more about the accelerated purpose experience, but also what I call connecting with your purpose, which is a one-to-one version of that, where we do spend a lot more time going into a lot more depth, then please do get in touch, and we would love to be able to support you in your journey to finding your purpose. So there we go. Anything else you want to add about that, Amy?
No, I'm just hoping that the Zoom link is in the email that you sent me. So if I don't appear, just know that I couldn't find the Zoom link, and you'll quickly send it to me. But that's no, I you know, exactly. We have a lot more, obviously, to say about how you might do this with a group of people or individually, and just hope we've kind of whetted people's appetite or sort of turned up the pilot light a little bit more.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much to you and to everybody for watching, and we'll see you hopefully shortly over in Zoom, as long as it takes for me to stop this live stream and open Zoom. So take care. Thank you.